What's up, guys? It's Strat Nong here, and today we're learning about the tools of an economist. I'm part-time vlogger, part-time economist, and then part-time handyman. And today we'll be heading inside the house to learn about the tools of an economist.
It brings a
Okay. Today we'll be talking about the tools of an economist. But before we do that, I want to tell you the difference between macroeconomics and microeconomics. Microeconomics deals with the decisions consumers and businesses make and the allocation of resources that the businesses allow. And the allocation of resources is when assets are managed to support a firm's goal, because resources are scarce and it is needed to allocate them so the businesses are more efficient. Macroeconomics, on the other hand, takes a wider view, and it considers inflation, unemployment, and the distribution of income in the whole economy. And not only in the economy of the United States, but economies of other foreign countries such as Japan or China. In macroeconomics, there are 5 objectives that are needed to be met. A steady rate of increase of national output, which is economic growth, a low level of unemployment, a low and stable rate of inflation, a favorable balance of payments, and an equitable distribution of income. And these are the 5 objectives in macroeconomics. Now, to recap, the difference between macro and microeconomics is that micro deals with consumers, businesses, and their decisions based on supply and demand, but macro takes into account of inflation, unemployment, and the distribution of income of a whole economy of our country and other countries. Now, getting to the tools of economists, my friend Abby here will talk about simple supply and demand.
Hey guys, it's Abby, and I'm going to be talking to you about demand and supply. Okay, so first we're going to talk about demand. And I'm going to show you how to draw a demand graph. So first, we draw the X and Y axes. The Y-axis is price, and you can just put P, and the X-axis is Q for quantity. So for a demand graph, the line is going to be downward sloping, and you can just label it as D for demand. And the reason that it's downward sloping is it's showing that there's an inverse relationship between price and quantity. So as one goes up, the other will decrease. So with demand, and this will apply for supply graphs too, there can be a movement or a shift along the graph. So if movement would be if you had 2 points, say A and B, a movement would be from point A to point B, or vice versa. And movements are usually caused by price changes. And the other kind of thing that you can do with the demand and supply graphs are shifts. So a shift, you're basically shifting the whole line. You can shift it outwards, or you could do the same thing inwards. Outwards is a increase in demand, and downwards is a decrease in demand. And these shifts are caused by non-price determinants. So a couple examples of non-price determinants would be changes in income, and this could affect the demand of a good, because if you have more income, you would be more inclined to buy what they call normal goods, which are basically like higher end goods, and then you would be less inclined to buy inferior goods, which are basically like lower end goods, like from Walmart or thrift store stuff. So an increase in income would cause an increase in demand of normal goods and a decrease in demand of inferior goods. Another determinant of demand would be changes in prices of the other goods. So these have to do with complements and substitutes, which are two other types of goods. So complements are two goods that go with each other. So you could say like peanut butter and jelly. So if the price of peanut butter decreased, then the complement, which is jelly, the demand would increase because people would be more inclined to buy both. And then substitutes are goods that kind of replace one another. So like if the price of chicken increased, then maybe people would be more inclined to buy beef and the demand would increase. And then the last main determinant of demand is tastes and preferences. So this basically has to do with advertising and changes in season. So if a good is kind of advertised, like if it's winter and they're advertising jackets, then the demand for jackets would increase, or like, stuff like that. So the next graph that we are going to learn is the supply graph, which is basically drawn the same way. You label the axis price and quantity. The only difference is supply is going to be upward sloping, and this is because there's a direct relationship between price and quantity, so they both either go up or down together. The same rules apply regarding movements and shifts. So movement would be from one point to another. A shift would be, either an increase, which would be downwards for supply, or a decrease, which would be upwards. So there's really only two main determinants for the shift in supply, and the first one would be costs of the factors of production. So these are like inputs or wages. So like if there was an increase in wages, then producers would have to decrease their supply because they basically have less money to produce because they'd be putting that money towards paying their workers. And the second main determinant for supply is government intervention, which is specifically talking about subsidies. So a subsidy is basically government issued aid or money that is meant to help assist producers produce more of a good. So if the government puts subsidies on milk, then this more money that they would be giving would cause an increase in supply, which would be from a downward shift. So you'd be moving from here to here. And the same thing, like if they were to take away subsidies, then supply would decrease. So those are the two main determinants for supply.
Hey guys, it's Q. Today I'm going to be teaching you guys about normative versus positive economic statements. A normative statement is a statement that cannot be proven or disproven, and it's subjective and opinion-based. Many times these kind of statements will use judgment terms like should or might. Now, a positive economic statement is able to be proven or disproven with the help of research and statistics, and oftentimes you'll see a positive economic statement written in if-then form. So an example of a normative statement would be unemployment is a worse economic problem than inflation because it can't be proven and it's opinionated. A positive economic statement would be something like higher taxes on cigarettes causes people to smoke less due to increased price. Alright, so since we're talking about the tools of an economist, I got my hammer here, and I'm going to use it to make two statements, one a normative statement and one positive statement. So the normative statement for this hammer would be something like, if the price of hammers increases, then there should be less handymen. Now, a positive statement would be, if input costs of steel and rubber increase, then consumers will seek a long-term alternative, such as this homemade paper-only hammer.
Hey, I'm Kyle, the 10 econ term man, and I'm here to give you 10 econ terms that might help you pass econ. I'm outside now. So, the first term is GDP, which stands for Gross Domestic Product. And GDP is the total production of goods in an economy, which would be the US, because we're the US right now. So these two cars here, that's a Toyota. And Toyota is a Japanese car industry. So that's not part of the GDP. This one right here. So that's a Hyundai Sonata. That's a Hyundai Sonata. And that's a Korean car. So that's not in GDP either. But over here, you got a brand new 2018 Pontiac G6 GT. And that's an American car, you know. So it's part of our GDP. Hey, I'm Kyle, the street vendor man, and this is a market right here. And so a market, well, that's the second term on my 10 econ terms that I'm giving you today. And a market is a place where people come to buy and sell goods and services, like these mac and noodles here.
Hey Kyle, the street vendor.
How you doing?
I'm doing good. I was interested in buying these mac and cheese and noodles today. How much would that be?
That's $10 right there.
Oh wow, I only have $10. This relates to opportunity costs in economics because the opportunity cost of buying mac and cheese and noodles means that I cannot buy the 6-pack of spaghetti like I wanted to because I only have $10 to spend. Opportunity cost is the trade-off between goods and how much you sacrifice one good compared to how much you're increasing the other good.
Okay, so the price of these mac and noodles, which is how much, the price is how much a consumer pays for a good. So the price of these mac and noodles is $10. And the price of this 6-pack of spaghetti right here is $10, right? But the cost of this thing, the cost is how much it takes for a producer to make a good. So, you know, I got my ramen, my tape, my mac and cheese, and all that right there, that's $5. That thing costs $5, right? So it cost me $5 to make this, and then I sell it for 10. So my profit is $5 because profit is revenue minus cost. And my revenue, well, that's how much money I make off selling a good, right? So I sell this thing for $10, my revenue is $10. But, you know, profit takes into account the cost too. So, you know, profit is revenue minus cost. So if my revenue is $10, but the cost to make this thing is $5, then my profit will be $5. So my revenue is $10, and then my profit's $5.
Hi, we represent the employed people of the workforce.
Hey, I'm Kyle, the street vendor that ran out of business and is now homeless man. And I represent the 4 to 5% of the labor force that has no job and is homeless. And, you know, 4 to 5% is considered full employment. I'm Kyle, the 10-term econ man, and I'm back to give you your last 2 econ terms of the day. It's been a long journey, but we're about to finish. So these last 2 econ terms are inflation and recession. And an inflation is when people in the economy, they start spending more money. Look at that, wow. And so when they start spending more money, the money starts flowing, and eventually the prices of all the goods in the economy will start rising. And that's when an inflation is. A recession is when people start spending less money. So then the economy slows down, and that's when the price of all goods in the economy drop. So those were our last 2 terms of the day. Thank you for listening. Like and subscribe. Over here, there are these guys. They're my birds. And I haven't given them a name yet, but I've had them for 3 years, and I'd really like a name. So if you guys want to give me your opinion, give me some names, I'd appreciate that. Thank you.